On today's Core of the Bible Daily Insight, we're looking at the continual watchful prayer for all of God's people. And this comes from Ephesians 6, where the Apostle Paul writes, "Pray in the Spirit at all times, with every kind of prayer and petition. To this end, stay alert with all perseverance in your petitions for all the saints." This passage comes on the heels of a very famous passage from Paul regarding the putting on of the armor of God. And yet this integral instruction on perseverance and prayer for all of God's people is often omitted. Paul's original audience for this instruction was experiencing persecution, real life-endangering persecution on a regular basis. And this type of exhortation would not have fallen on deaf ears. Now, while most of us can only imagine the severity of their situation, in a crisis it becomes quite natural, almost a reflex, to defer to prayer on a regular basis. But this type of crisis prayer is typically centered around the individual and praying for personal safety. However, Paul is here admonishing the Ephesian believers to pray vigilantly and unceasingly for all of God's people, not just for their own personal needs and desires. Two types of prayer are mentioned here: prayer, which is a type of worship, and petitions for specific needs that are urgent and immediate. All of these are to be offered in the Spirit, that is, in accordance with the operation and fruit of the Spirit. In Galatians 5, Paul writes, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance." And then in Galatians 5:16 and 25, he says, "I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit." To walk in the Spirit is to have the path of one's life patterned on the principles of the Spirit that Paul mentioned in this very passage. Paul was encouraging the believers to pray in this fashion for all of the saints, that is, all those who were set apart within the remnant of Israel for their specific needs and protection during a time of extreme social and civil duress. The urgent necessity of this praying for the saints is highlighted by a term that's used for wakefulness and alertness. They should never stop lifting up their brothers and sisters with all the principles of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, etc. I believe this type of dynamic, urgent, and constant prayer, lifting up their brothers and sisters in the Spirit, is what allowed that generation to be a positive example for all time, through which God ushered in the new life of the eternal kingdom to all nations. The example is there for us to receive this instruction for our own generation. Well, I hope today's insight was helpful for you. As always, please visit coreofthebible.org for hundreds of other Bible articles like this, along with other podcast episodes and videos. Thanks so much for listening today. Take care.